Welcome everybody to a special edition of Focus. Today is Tes Vov Sivan, and it is a very special day on the Chabad Hasidic calendar. On Tes Vov Sivan, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, was arrested. Why? Because he was keeping Yiddishkeit alive. He was making sure that Torah was kept, Torah was learnt, mitzvahs were kept, mitzvahs were performed. And because of that, the Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested by the Russian government. So why are we celebrating such a day? Well, we're going to find out a lot about that later on in the rally. But there's a special day in the Chassidic calendar that you probably are familiar with, and that's called the day of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. That's the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from jail, about 3 weeks from now. And he was arrested from the time that the Frierdiker Rebbe went out of jail, Yud Beis Tammuz. The day that he was arrested from that release was today, Tes Vov Sivan. So there's a lot to learn about this day, and that is why, although on the surface it's something negative, it's a day that Chassidim get together to verbring and speak about what happened to the Frierdiker Rebbe, why the Frierdiker Rebbe was put in prison, and the subsequent release of the Frierdiker Rebbe. I don't want to ruin what our guest speaker has in store for us, so I'm going to keep it as a surprise for later on. But that is why we are gathered today on Tes Vov Sivan. And we're going to start off today's rally, like we do every single time, with a video of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe is joining the Hasidim in a niggin, and the niggin is called Niggin Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz. That niggin is a niggin that was composed shortly after the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from jail, as you'll see in the subtitles of the video. Please join along with our Hasidim, our fellow brothers, and let's get into the niggin. Here we go. Beautiful, 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 Zeir Geschmack. Let's move on to our most powerful weapon, the 12 Pesukim. And we will begin the first of the 12 Pesukim, Pasuk of Torah, with Second Lieutenant Shnei Hershkap of Kita Gimel. Take it away. Torah. Siva. Lanu. Moshe. Meirosha. Kehilas. Yaakov. Thank you, Schneier. Pasuk of Shema, Second Lieutenant Adi Benjamin of Kita Daled. Shema. Yisrael. Adonai. Eloheinu. Adonai. Echad. Thank you, Adi. Pasuk Bechol Der Vader will be led by Colonel Chaim Baruch Merves of Kita Daled. Bechol. Der. Vader. Chayav. Adam. Lirais. Es. Atzmai. Keilu. Ho. Yatza. Mimitzrayim. Thank you, Chaim Baruch. Pasuk of Kol Yisrael will be led by Captain Yoni Baum of Kita Gimel. Kol. Yisrael. Yesh. Lohem. Chelek. Liailam. Haba. Shenemar. V'yamech. Kulam. Tzadikim. Liailam. Yershu. Aretz. Netzer. Matai. Masei. Yodai. Lehispoer. Thank you, Yoni. Love the energy. Ki Korev will be led by Captain Yosef Yitzchak Newman of Kita Hey. Ki. Korev. Elecha. Hadavar. Miyoid. Beficha. Uvilvavcha. Lasoisai. Thank you, Yosef Yitzchak. Pasuk of Vihine will be led by 5-star General Baruch Dukes. It is a great honor to introduce Darche's very, very first 5-star General. And it is, I think, the 8th ever 5-star General that Tzivos Hashem has under their new format, the online format. It is a great honor. As far as I understand, Tzivos Hashem will be making a very special ceremony in honor of Baruch later on, but we in Darche have the pleasure and privilege of honoring him and recognizing him here at our rally. 5-star General Baruch Dukes of Kita Vov, please lead us to the Pasuk of Vehine. Vehine. Hashem. Nitzav. Olav. Umalai. Kol. Haaretz. Kevaidai. Umabit. Olav. Uvaychein. Klayais. Valev. Im. Oivdai. Karaoi. Beautiful. Thank you, Baruch. You should continue being an example to everybody, and I know that you're continuing your efforts in Tzivos Hashem even after you reach the level of 5-star. You're a beautiful example of Dug Mechaya. Keep it up. Bereshis will be led by Colonel Yaakov Smasman of Kita Hey. Yaakov, take it away. Bereshis. Bara. Elohim. Eis. Hashamayim. V'yeis. Haaretz. Thank you, Yaakov. Pasuk Vishinantum will be led by Private Yitzchak Odds of Kita Vov. Vishinantum. Levanecha. Vedibarta. Bam. Beshivtecha. Beveisecha. Uvelechtecha. Vaderech. Uveshachbecha. Uvkumecha. Thank you, Yitzchak. Pasuk Yogaiti will be led by General Yaakov Shimon Lazar of Kita Vov. Yogaiti. Veloi. Matsasi. Al. Tamin. Lo Yogaiti. Umatsasi. Al. Tamin. Yogaiti. Umatsasi. Tamin. Thank you, Yaakov Shimon. Pasuk V'Ohafta will be led by Captain Meir Arkoin Bornstein of Kita Hey. V'Ohafta. L'Reyacha. Kamaycha. Rabbi. Akiva. Oimer. Zeh. Klau. Gadol. Batayra. Thank you, Mayor. Pasuk of Vizeh will be led by Colonel Binyamin Zarchi of Kita Gimel. Vizeh. Kol. Ha'adam. Visachlis. Briasai. Uvrias. Kol. Ha'ilamais. Elyanim. Visachtainim. Liais. Lai. Dira. Zai. Visachtainim. Let's do this over again. Pasuk of Vizeh will be led by Colonel Binyamin Zarchi of Kita Gimel. Vizeh. Kol. Ha'adam. Visachlis. Briasai. Uvrias. Kol. Ha'ilamais. Elyanim. Visachtainim. Liais. Lai. Dira. Zai. Visachtainim. Thank you, Binyamin. Pasuk of Yismach will be led by Second Lieutenant Nosson Arnold of Kita Gimel. Yismach. Yisrael. Be'aisav. Peirosh. Shekal. Mi. Shehu. Mizera. Yisrael. Yesh. Lai. Lismayach. Besimchas. Hashem. Asher. Sos. Besameach. Bedirasai. Besachtainim. Thank you. Talmidim, think about it for a second. Over the past year, we turned to Hashem, we asked Hashem ad Masai. We did everything we can to bring Mashiach, and still we're in Galus. And we tell Hashem, we did everything we can, it's your turn. And these past 3 months, especially since after Shavuos, we're in quarantine, and we're not in yeshiva in the building. Every single challenge was thrown to us, and we're still learning Torah. We're still doing mitzvahs. Like, we even broke our boundaries that we thought were not possible. Eibishter, just like we broke ourselves when we came through, it's time that you break the boundary, bring about Mashiach. we ask Captain Eli Mizrahi from Kita Hey to lead us with Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. At the end of the psukim, Rabbi Hecht would announce that everyone should be given a round of applause for their efforts. So I think it's certainly due over here. Everyone deserves a nice round of applause. Beautiful. Before we move along with our guest speaker, we always know that by learning about Mashiach brings Mashiach closer. So let's take a moment to have a Mashiach minute with Rabbi Munitz of Cheder Menachem, Los Angeles, California. Take it away.
In Yana Geula Mashiach, at the time of the redemption, when Hashem will make incredible miracles to take us out of exile, we will all be so excited to praise Hashem. The prophet Yeshaya tells us that we will say to each other, shout with joy and praise. Everyone who lives in Yerushalayim, meaning all the Jews, should do this because Hashem is great among the Jews. This is the third verse that talks about how the Jews will praise Hashem when Mashiach comes, and all of these verses are part of the Yiten Lecha, a prayer that we say together on Motzoi Shabbos, Saturday night. We want Mashiach now.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Munitz. And now, we have the pleasure of having a special guest speaker to Fabreng with us. It's a Chassidische Yemid Pagra. And when Chassidim have a Chassidish Yemid Pagra, they get together for a Fabrengen. We have the schus of having Rabbi Shmuley Teichtel, Shliach of the Rebbe, on campus in Arizona State University in Tempe, Arizona, who's taken from his shlichus to sit and Fabreng with us. Rabbi Teichtel, thank you so much. Talmidim, please give your attention and derech eretz to Rabbi Teichtel. B'chovid Gadol, Rabbi, take it away.
Hello, Talmidim, Chayalim, Chasidim. It is wonderful to be here with you, wherever you may be. My name is Rabbi Shmuel Teichtel, and I come from what some people think is the Wild West, from Arizona. Actually, I'm from Crown Heights, but I'm a Shliach of the Rebbe. I have the schus of being a Shliach of the Rebbe to Arizona State University. Some people call it ASU, but we call it home of the AS Jews. My wife and I moved there together with our son Tzvi almost 17 years ago, and now Baruch Hashem with our 5 children. We have a very active Chabad house with a lot of students, a lot of chayis, and a lot of Yiddishkeit, and it's amazing. One fun fact, in the summer it gets really hot by us. Average weather in the summer is over 100 degrees, probably about 105 degrees average. But I believe the reason it's so hot, the Gashmi, is because Baruch Mi is it's so hot, so therefore the Gashmi is mirroring it, so we have the ability to bring so much warmth, life, and Chassidishkeit over there. So we're gathered here today for bringing. First I want to say L'chaim, 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 to each and every one of you, to happiness, health. We should be Chassidim, give their Rebbe nachas, and have everything that we need. L'chaim. And Mashiach now, Tich Simcha of Tivoli Vav. So we gather here today for bringing for Tes Vov Sivan. Tes Vov Sivan, you're going to tell me? I never heard of that. What's that all about? I know Vav Sivan is Shavuos. I know there's other special days, but Tes Vov Sivan, what's that all about? It's not such a famous date in the calendar, but it's an important date in the calendar. You see, Tes Vov Sivan was the day that in Tuf Reish Pei Zayin in 1927, the Frierdiker Rebbe got arrested. It was a very hard time for Chassidim then. And this arrest was something which brought a very challenging time to the Chassidim in Russia then and the Chassidim around the world. It was a terrible arrest. They arrested the Frierdiker Rebbe. He was under very harsh interrogations, and a lot of stories connected to that, which we're not going to go through all that now. But it was a dark time then. It seemed very dark. And originally, they sentenced the Frierdiker Rebbe to death. Yes, they were going to kill the Frierdiker Rebbe. It was terrible. Could you imagine something like that? The Chassidim did everything they can, davening to Hashem, working at everything they could to be able to save the Frierdiker Rebbe. And eventually, on Gimel Tammuz, the Frierdiker Rebbe's death sentence was commuted, which means he wasn't going to be sentenced to death. He was going to be sent to Gullus in Kostroma. And 10 days later, one of the most wonderful Yom Tovim Yud Beis Gimel Tammuz, the Frierdiker Rebbe was freed. So Tes Vov Sivan is when it all started. So you're going to tell me, why should we have a bringing of Tes Vov Sivan? What's the special day about it? I'm reminded of a story I heard from a dear friend of mine. When Tes Vov Sivan happened, the Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested. The Chassidim were very concerned and davening and doing all they can to get the Frierdiker Rebbe free. But there was one Chassid who made a kula, made a somersault. And somebody said, "Why are you doing that?" He said, "If this happens, it means there's going to be another great Yom Tov like Yittas Kislev. Because Tes Vov Sivan is the beginning of the Geula. They say from the darkness comes the light. Yisr na'ara b'min ha'cheshach. So it wasn't happy when it happened, but a much greater Geula came after that. So I want to share with you a little bit about what it was like for the Yidden in Russia at that time. I'm going to share with you a personal story that I heard from my own Bubby, from my grandmother. You see, my Bubby, called her Bubby Itkin, my mother's mother, she actually lived at 760 Eastern Parkway, which is very close to 770. It's the closest house you can be to 770. It's the Rebbe's library, 770, the Rebbe's library, and then their house attached to the Rebbe's library. My Bubby grew up in Leningrad. Now it's called Petersburg, but then it was called Leningrad. She actually grew up in a street, if I recall correctly, the name of the street was Lermontovskaya Street. Not street, however way they say street in Russia. And her father, my Alter Zayda, his name was Harav Yitzchak Raskin. And he was a big chassid of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he was a sheikhet. And he was a mayel. And he's somebody who was not scared of what the Russian government said. And he said that we are Chassidim and we're going to do what the Rebbe asks us to do. And he kept Yiddishkeit going. Did brisim, shechted animals, and did whatever he can to help Yiddishkeit and Chassidus flourish in Russia. It was a very dangerous time. Let me tell you, Kindalach, it was a very, very dangerous time. There were informers all around, and people did not know what the next day would bring. In 1938, this is 11 years after the Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested and then freed. And the Frierdiker Rebbe then, after the Frierdiker Rebbe was freed in 1927, Tevrish Pezayin eventually left to Riga, and eventually the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America during World War II. The story I want to tell you is about the story of Mesiras Nefesh Chassidim in Russia. Even after the Frierdiker Rebbe left, the Frierdiker Rebbe's Chassidim made sure to keep Yiddishkeit going. And one of those, my Alter Zayda. My Alter Zayda knew that if there's ever a Yid in need, you do whatever you can to help them. He had, if there were Chassidim who were running away from the police many times, many people were afraid to host them, he said, if there's a Yid in need, we have to help them. And he had people sleep over at his house regularly. My Bubby would tell us, sometimes she wouldn't know if she'd have a better night, or somebody else would be sleeping there. The famous Chassid Reb Chanya Morozov would stay in his house often, because he was a very wanted person. He was one of the secretaries of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he was a very wanted person. What my elder Zayda said, if he's in need, you have to help him out. 1938 was a very hard year for the Chassidim then. The Russian government arrested a lot of people then. And one night, in 1938, the Yataf Reish Ches Tzadik, it was the middle of the winter, the beginning of the month of Adar Rishon. Middle of the night, there was a knock on the door. Many times they knew what that knock meant. They opened the door, and it was the men of the KGB, then it was called the NKVD. They came inside, they looked for what they were looking for, and they found the contraband they were looking for. I don't know what they found there, but what would be contraband then? Could have been a Moyel's knife, a Sheikhet's knife, it could have been something connected to the Rebbe. And that night, they arrested my elder Zayda, Rabbi Yitzchak Raskin. They also arrested that night Rabbi Chanya Morozov, who was also there, Rabbi Chanya Morozov's son, and many other Hasidim. My grandmother, who was a teenager then, would tell us many times this story. They didn't know what to expect, but they knew it was really not good. As her father was being taken away into the black car, which was reserved for the worst prisoners. What was his crime? His crime was keeping Yiddishkeit going. As he was taken away, he told a few things to his daughters. He had 4 daughters then. One of the things he said was a practical thing. Their oldest daughter, whose name was Minna, was engaged to get married. He said, don't wait for the wedding. Do the wedding. Don't wait for me to come back. Do the wedding. He also told them, if you need something, get to Peretzin. Go to the Chassid Reb Peretz Machkin. And he also said something which sticks with me very much till this day. Continue living your life for what they're arresting me for. He's about to be taken away in the black car, not knowing what's going to be with him. And he turns to his daughters and to his wife and to the people that were there and doesn't say, oh, watch out, run away, stop living a life of Yiddishkeit, that's what they're arresting me. Continue living your life for what they're arresting me for. Continue being Chassidim, living as Yidden. My grandmother told us that was the last time she ever saw her father. Her father was taken away. They didn't know what happened. They would send food packages. They didn't know what happened. For years and years, they didn't know what happened. They knew that he didn't come back home then. And years later, they found out that about 2 months later, he was shot by a firing squad. He had real mysterious nefesh to be able to keep Yiddishkeit going in Russia. For many years, they didn't know what happened until like the last, maybe after the Iron Curtain came down, they were able to find out more. They found out some more details. It was a very hard time for my grandmother and her sisters and her mother, but they did what their father said. They continued living their life in the way of Hasidim. They continued knowing that the Russian government, the communist government then told them certain things, but the Eibishter told us otherwise. When we listen to Hashem, we only gain and it's so much greater. As we see, thank God my grandmother survived. She came to America, built a beautiful Chassidic family, but the communist government is not there anymore because Yiddishkeit and Chassidus will always prevail. This story to me was always a very important story because it showed me the extent we have to go to be able to live a life of Yiddishkeit and to be able to be Chassidim and not be afraid of those who are telling us to stop doing it. There's always different types of challenges. An interesting, something to think about is, back then in Russia, what was the challenge? The challenge was that you would have to be killed. You could have been killed to live as a Yidden, as a Chassid. But nowadays, Baruch Hashem, that's not our challenge now. It's different challenges. Nobody is telling us that if you do this mitzvah or learn this Torah, Chas v'shalom, they'll hurt you and they'll kill you. Now it's not a challenge to have to die to be a Yid. Now it's a challenge to live to be a Yid. And it is challenging at times. I remember one of my cousins had a thesis, she was in her high school. She had to write about a certain topic, and she picked her family's history. And I remember she asked my Bubby, she said, Bubby, where do you think it was harder? Back in Russia, where you had to have Set Mesiras Nefesh to be a Yid. And my grandmother, on Shabbos, to be able to go to She would suddenly have to go to school, not right. There are a bunch of stories that's for another time. The Mesiras Nefesh they had to have. So she said, Bubby, where do you think it was harder to be a Yid? To live like a good frum Chassidische Yid. Back in Russia, where you literally had to have Mesiras Nefesh, or in America where nobody's stopping you to be a Yid, but there's a lot of, things calling your name, a lot of challenges around. And I thought my Bubby for sure would say in Russia, but she said she's not sure. Each place has its own challenges. And I was thinking to myself, she said back in Russia, she said, it wasn't a question, that's who you are, that's what you do. Was never a question that you wouldn't live this way. She said nowadays, there's a lot of challenges around so people could think that maybe it's more exciting the outside world, but we know, and when you hear these stories and you remember the gifts that we have of being a Yid, and the gifts that we have of being a Yid here in America now where nobody is stopping us. So I think it was much harder in Russia because nobody's threatening us to do it here and now. Chassidim, let us think about this. Let us ask ourselves, Baruch Hashem, we're living in a free country. Yes, there's challenges now. It's not an easy time now with everything going on around us. But let's think and focus on the brachas that we have. And think of all the good things that we have. Because so many times in life, it's so easy to get focused and think about what we don't have. Think about what we're missing instead of looking at our brachas. It reminds me of a story. There was one time a group of college students who were visiting a museum in Italy. And they were visiting that museum in Italy. That museum was very famous that it had a very beautiful roof. The ceiling had 4,586 tiles. And they were very artistic tiles. And they were looking at the tiles, and they were, wow, that's so beautiful. Look at each and every one. They're looking up at the tiles. One guy, David, turns to his friend Joey and says, Joey, look over there, you see? There's a missing tile. They call over one friend and another friend and another. Look at that missing tile. And for the next 10 minutes, they can't believe it, how there's one missing tile. And finally, one friend turns to the other friend. His name is Sammy. Sammy turns to Joey, and David says, Joey, David, I don't get it. We're looking at the ceiling, at this beautiful roof, at the beautiful ceiling there, and there's 4,586 tiles. 4,585 of them are so beautiful. One is missing, and that's what you're focusing on. Look at all the beautiful tiles that you have there. Look how great it is. And my friends, many times we get stuck and we look at what's missing instead of what's there. It's very easy these days to say on what I don't have. But let's look at the brachas that we have. Baruch Hashem, we're alive, we're healthy, we're Yidden, we're Hasidim. Each and every person has so many brachas. I was one time speaking to a student, they were saying, this is a challenge, and that's a challenge, and that's a challenge. And they don't feel they have enough money, and they don't feel they have enough this and enough that. And I asked them a question. I said, let's say the student's name was Abraham. It wasn't, but I said, Abe, let me ask you a question. How much would you be willing to sell your ability to see? And he said, what do you mean? I said, think about it. How much would you be willing to sell your ability to see? He said, I told you sell it for $1 million? He said, of course not. I said, 10 million, 100 million? He said, we'll be able to maybe take an operation to see again? I said, no, you'll never be able to see again. He said, it wouldn't even sell for $1 billion. I said, how about your ability to walk, your ability to touch, and to hear, and to taste? He said he wouldn't sell all of those things for even $20 billion. I said, that's very smart, but it's not worth $20 billion. It's not worth anything in the world. And I said, Abe, every morning when you get up, you should count your blessings and say, thank you, God. He didn't know yet what Hashem was then. So thank you, God, for the blessings that I have. Your whole day will be different. Chassidim, we are so blessed in so many ways. I encourage everyone here not to think of what we don't have. Think of the brachas that we have. Be thankful to Hashem for it. Think how lucky we are to be Chassidim, to have a connection to our mitzvahs, to have a Rebbe, to be able to bring together, and be thankful for that. And be thankful that we don't have to have the challenges that Chassidim had in Russia to be able to keep Yiddishkeit going. Meaning that their life was threatened by them. We're able to do it freely. It's a challenge sometimes, a lot of other things distracting us. Let's think of the brachas that we have to be able to do it. The more we get into that mindset, the more we'll be happier, we'll have more bitachon, we'll have more connection, we'll have more joy. We'll see all the amazing brachas that we have. L'chaim, l'chaim. I don't know how much time I was given to share, but I'm going to share one more story. And I want to take this opportunity to say a special l'chaim to Label Cohen. Gave me this opportunity to bring here together with all of you. Label's a dear friend, somebody who inspires me very much, l'chaim. I want to share with you a story that really inspired me. Many times we think that, going back to what we were saying before, we think it's brighter in other places and it's greater in other places, and if only we could experience other things, we'd have more simcha. But I'm a shliach in campus, and I see how lucky we are to have Hashem, Torah, Rebbe, Chassidus, and I see students who were exposed to so many things, wanting to connect to Yiddishkeit. And I'm reminded a story of one student that comes to mind. And I'm going to preface this where you see the amazing Hashgacha Pratzah Hashem runs the world. About 5 years ago, I was scheduled to go on a trip to Israel, something called Birthright. Birthright is where we take groups of students to Eretz Yisrael. I was scheduled to go on a trip with a group of students from our university from ASU. And the trip was going to be in the middle of Sivan. We scheduled a trip already like Kislev time and to go in Sivan time. But in the middle, about another time, I don't remember the exact month, my niece got engaged. And the date that the trip was supposed to be on the date my niece was going to get married. Because the date for the wedding was planned after the trip. So I wasn't going to miss my niece's wedding, so I had to change the date of the trip. And the date of the trip that I ended up going on wasn't the day where I had a lot of students from my university. It was much earlier. It was an ER time. And there was only one student from my university, but I felt still they're Yidden, and I'm going to go and be on the trip. And most of the students on the trip were from New York City, actually, from Long Island. Not from the university where I was. We had an amazing time on the trip. And I was thinking to myself, why did Hashem put me exactly on that trip and make my niece's wedding be exactly at that time, where I could not go on my original trip? About a year later, this is 4 years ago, it's the first day of the new school year at our university. And it's a Friday, second day actually, school started on Thursday, it's a Friday, and you get an email with somebody says he's interested to know more about Chabad. He never heard about it before, but he's a Jewish student. That Friday night he walks in, and there's about 100 people there, first Shabbos of the year, of the school year. The person walks in and I say, welcome, and I give him a hug and ask him his name. And we're talking, and then I ask him where he's from. He says he's from Plainview, Long Island. I said, Plainview? I said, you know, this person and that person and that person? These are guys who were with me on the birthright trip a year before, the trip that I wasn't supposed to be on, but ended up being on. He says, those guys, of course, those are my best friends from high school. How do you know them? I said, a year before I was on birthright, these guys were like the main guys of the trip. He said, you were the rabbi on their trip? I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They said they had such a cool rabbi, and it was so much fun, and one day maybe you'll meet this rabbi. And this really broke the ice for the student. The student's name is Greg. It broke the ice for the student because the student was so scared to come to Chabad. He never heard about Chabad before that day when he signed up. And he was so scared. And the moment he walked in, his best friends from high school had a connection to the rabbi there, to the shliach there. And it broke the ice, and he started getting involved and started learning. And he was amazed because he's a Jewish boy, but he knew almost nothing about Yiddishkeit. He started coming every week, and he joined a class called Sinai Scholars. And he's like, wow, this Torah thing is really amazing. And he really loved it. And he started learning more and more. He's like, I wish I would have known more about this more before. And he was learning more. One day I asked him, close to the beginning when he came, he wanted to put on tefillin. And he said, yes, he wants to put on tefillin. He put on tefillin with me. And afterwards I sent a picture of him putting on tefillin to a friend of mine from Crown Heights, who was, we studied in yeshiva together, and he's involved in supporting our Chabad house. And I said, this is Greg, the first time he's putting on tefillin. So my friend said, You could tell him if he's going to commit to putting on tefillin regularly, I'll buy him a pair of tefillin as a gift. So I told this to Greg at that time, but Greg was just starting, and he said, I don't know, I'm not ready for that. And Greg continued coming every Friday night. A couple of months later, Greg was at a class called Sinai Scholars, actually about 6 weeks later. And at one of the classes, we spoke all about mitzvahs. So after the class, we were speaking about mitzvahs and how the Yidden do the mitzvahs, and we also had a discussion about the miracles, and this and that happened to the Yidden. After the class, I decided I'll show a few close students a video, which is it's a video from Yaakov Shweki called "We Are a Miracle," and the video speaks a lot. There's a person who's a Holocaust survivor, and his grandson is in the Israeli army. He puts on tefillin. Afterwards, I turned to a few students there. I said, one student, his name was Avi. I said, Avi, you have tefillin. How about, in honor of this inspiring video, put on tefillin for a week? Avi said yes. And there was another student, he said the same thing. Then I turned to Greg, I said, my friend, offer still stand. Will you put on tefillin? Will you get a pair of tefillin and put it on regularly? He said yes. He was very inspired. Now I want to share with you all that this was about 10:30 at night Arizona time. I decided I'll send my friend a WhatsApp message because I didn't want to text him so late at night. I'll see you in the morning. And I sent him a message. I said, is the offer still on? Literally 30 seconds later, he said, yes, the offer's on, of course. I'll buy him a pair of tefillin. So I told Greg. Greg was so happy, and a couple of weeks later, Greg got his very own pair of tefillin. Side note, I asked my friend the next day, I said, what were you doing up? He said he woke up and he couldn't fall back asleep. Greg got his pair of tefillin. He started learning, growing, came to New York with Shabbaton. He went to learn yeshiva for that winter. And this Greg, who knew almost nothing about Yiddishkeit, now had his very own pair of tefillin. I was very excited. That summer, Greg decided he's going to go to yeshiva. He went to Eretz Yisrael to learn a Mayanot, and it was really a big bracha. This person who had so much Hashgacha Pratis that a year before I ever met him, I went on a trip with his friends to Israel, and Hashem made it be the Hashgacha Pratis, he should be able to come to the Chabad house and be comfortable. How in the middle of the night my friend was up, so he can get his pair of tefillin. I want to show you one more Hashgacha Pratis story with him. The reason I share this with you is because what Greg realized was that when you connect to Hashem, when you connect to the Rebbe, when you learn and daven as a chassid, you're going to see more and more the beauty of it and the great gift that we have from it. So Greg is in yeshiva, and one of the things one subject he didn't like so much was Mishnayos. Everybody has different subjects they like. You like Chassidus, you like other things. You don't like Mishnayos so much. And he was telling this to me, and I told him. He said, "What should I do?" I said, "It's very important that when you're a yeshiva bacher, that even if it's a subject you don't like so much, to be able to learn it, because yeshiva bacher has Kabbalah soil. You do what you need to do." He said he's going to commit. So he said he's going to commit for 2 weeks to learning Mishnayos very much. And about a week after he decided or a couple of days after he decided he's going to commit to learning Mishnayos very much, he gives me a call. He says he has to tell me something. He says that he was looking to get his family's family tree to find out what his background is. And his mother told him that week, just a couple of days after he decided he's going to learn the Mishnayos more committed, that she's going to give it to him. It was around his birthday, and she's going to give it to him. And his mother gives him the family tree, and he's looking at it, and he sees some names, and he tells me some of the names. And it says in this family tree that Greg's mother's mother comes from a certain family, and they're descendants of a rabbi. His name is Rabbi Yom Tov Lipman HaLevi Heller, which is the Tes Vov Sivan Rally. I said, Greg, do you realize what you just told me? I said, do you know who that rabbi is? That rabbi is one of the greatest rabbis in the Mishnah. Commentaries on the Mishnah. In every page of the Mishnah, you have his commentary. Do you see what happened? Mishnayos was hard for you to learn. You decided you're going to make a commitment. And in the sense, there was a certain time of serious knowledge for him. He wasn't enjoying it. You're going to make a commitment to learning it. And Hashem gave you a great gift that you discover that you actually come from a very holy family of great Rabbanim. Greg continued to learn Mishnayos, Gemara. Now Baruch Hashem is a wonderful chassid that goes by Gershon, and he's a real chassid shabacher. My fellow chassidim, in a few days is Tes Vov Sivan. It was the date which really was a very hard time for the chassidim, but led to the great Geula. It was a date that after the Frierdiker Rebbe was freed, the Mesiras Nefesh of the chassidim continued in Russia. Nowadays, it's a different type of Mesiras Nefesh we need. The Mesiras Nefesh is not that we're going to be threatened for being Yidden. It might be to put away the computer from playing another game. It might be from being distracted and not being able to learn a little bit more. It might be wanting to read another book and not help our parents when we need to. As Chassidim, we learn to do what we need to do and do it b'simcha. L'chaim. We should be zeicha that we should be able to see the Geula in a very clear way in our own lives, personally, and for Klal Yisrael. Be able to see the Geula, Hamit Vashlema, the Rebbe. We'll be reunited with the Rebbe once again. May it be here and now. Amen. L'chaim. L'chaim.
Thank you, Rabbi Tachtel. Zeir Gishmak. Thank you so much. Before we conclude our rally, we're going to take a moment to say Tehillim for all those who need a refuah shalema, including Chaim Shner Zalman Yehuda Ben Hindo Yechevet. Please say it together with me. Lam Natzeyach Mizmer LeDavid Yancho Adinoi B'Yem Tzara Yisagev Choshim Elohei Yaakov Yishlach Ezrecha Mikodesh Umitzion Yisadeka Yizkoir Kol Min Choisecha Velascha Yidash Nesela Yiten Lecha Chilvavecha V'chalatzoscha Yemalei Neranino Bishuasecha Uv'Shem Eloheinu Nidegoel Yemalei Adoinoi Kol Mishaloisecha Ato Yodati Ki Hoshia Adoinoi Meshichoi Yanehu Mishmei Kodeshoi Bigvurais Yesha Yeminoi Eile Vorechev Ve'eile Vasusim Vanachnu B'Shem Adinoi Eloheinu Nazkir Hemakor Uvenafolu Vanachnu Kamnu Vanisaidod Adinoi Hoshia Hamelech Yaneinu V'Yem Koreinu. Beautiful. We said Psukim of Torah, we said Tefillah. Now take a moment, find some coins, put them in the pushka, and we will have accomplished Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. Before we conclude, we're going to watch a short little video clip of the Frierdiker Rebbe arriving in America. The Frierdiker Rebbe came to America twice. Once you could tell the difference because the first time he came, you saw him walking off the boat. The second time, unfortunately, he was sitting on a wheelchair because of all the suffering the Frierdiker Rebbe suffered during that time in between his first and second visit. We're playing this video in connection with Tes Vov Sivan because today is the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested. And in 3 weeks from now, we're going to celebrate Yud Beis Gimel Tammuz. So only appropriate that we watch a short video clip of the Frierdiker Rebbe arriving in America.
I was a young kid. I went with my father. We went to the pier. He, of course, was very, very secure, and you couldn't get in. My father had a button, so they let him through further. We were standing on the other side of the barricade. And then I wasn't as big as I am now, so I gave a jump up. That time I was able to jump. And the Rebbe was with a streimel on, was looking. I looked at him.
There was a VIP welcome for representatives of all the leading American Jewish organizations. Really, you needed a pass to get in, but the police were quite overwhelmed by the crowds.
The Rebbe arrives at the Greystone Hotel, where he stayed for the next several months. He's being helped out of the car by Rabbi Shlomo Aaron Kazanovsky.
Reb Shmuel Isaac Popek remembers that day.
From the very moment that the Rebbe came to the Greystone Hotel, he came on very strong. He was about to take on a one man against the entire America. He said, America is nicht anders. It's no difference than it was in Lubavitch.
Talmidim, thank you so much for joining our rally. May it be that in the schus of all the Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah that we have accomplished, certainly we will have tipped the scale and bring about the Geula Shlema, the Rebbe leading us out of Galus to the Geula Shlema. Take it from me at Mamish now. V'leikvena filu kerefein teich simcha v'tuv levav. We want Mashiach now.